Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. In this video we're going to carry on with the swinging arm job on the D7, and if you recall my previous video, we just fitted the swinging arm pin. We went to fit the pivot bolts and they wouldn't go in because there was a different thread in the pin to the original swinging arm bolts. Now these are 26 TPI British Standard Cycle, and this mystery thread, initially, to my dismay, I thought was metric. Now, I was measuring the thread whilst fitted to the bike, and I wasn't convinced that I'd got it right. So I decided the best thing to do was to pull the pin back out and measure it on the bench, which is what, as you can see, it's in my hand, and that's what I've done. And the good news is, it isn't metric. Now, I say the good news, you know, it's not really a great issue that if it had been metric, but this bike being a bit of a 60s survivor, I was trying to keep it non-metric threads. So you will see as the video goes on what we actually do find in here. So this video is going to be pretty much all lathe work. Those of you that are fans of my Maximat lathe will, I think, enjoy it. And the rest of you guys that are sort of more interested in the motorcycle side of things, I think you'll get something out of it too, because we are making parts for the bike from scratch. I think we prove again the enormous utility of the small to medium sized lathe in a classic bike workshop. And I think if you are sort of serious about getting into old bikes and fixing them up, sooner or later your eyes will wander to the classified ads or the auctions, and you will be hankering after a lathe for yourselves. I can highly recommend it. I think it's probably the best investment that you'll make. There's so much that you can do with the lathe when you're fixing up old bikes that if you haven't got one, you just have to get somebody else to do the work for you. Anyway, let's get on, make ourselves some pivot bolts, find out what this thread's all about, and I'll stop waffling. We'll get on with it. Well, here we are looking at something in the lathe, and it's the test thread that I just cut, and I had a bit of 7075 aluminium bar kicking around, so I just used that because it was convenient, and it fits. So there we go, the mystery is solved. Not metric at all, as I initially thought, but with it being a 60-degree UNF thread, the metric thread gauge did appear to fit. So there we go, let me show you. I'll try and keep my fingers out of the way. There we go. And that thread's on there as nice as you'd want it to. Now, why has it got this thread? Well, I don't know. I think this must be an aftermarket part. Probably came supplied with matching bolts, because the original Bantam pins had a 7/16 British Standard Cycle thread, which is 26 TPI, and the later model B175, sort of last of the line really, had a 7/16 UNC, which is 14 TPI, a much coarser thread. So BSA never put this thread in. So yeah, I'm guessing it's an aftermarket component. But anyway, we know what we're dealing with now, so we can make our new bolts. Okay, I have a piece of this 9/16 hex bar in the 3-jaw chuck, and we're going to make a couple of blanks for our pivot bolts. And here we go, that's what we're aiming for, but with a UNF thread instead of the cycle thread. And oh, nearly dropped it. Working in millimeters because it's a metric lathe, and it's just over 30 millimeters for the full length from the head to the end of the bolt, and I think it's about 25 millimeters length of thread. So we will turn our major diameter to start with, and probably put this little radius on, and then turn it around, slim the head down, through drill it, and put our thread in for our grease fitting. And then once we've got 2 blanks made, we will we'll put the gearing on the lathe with the sinister, mysterious universal quadrant, and we'll cut our 20 TPI UNF thread, and that should be us done. So yeah, we'll make a couple of blanks and go from there. So I won't show everything, I'll just show you the salient points. Obviously making 2 blanks would be 2 sets of operations that you know, one of which you'd already seen, so we'll just show it the once. I've got the travel dial zeroed in to the end of the bar, so you can't see that at the moment, but that's currently on 0. I've set the hard stop at 32mm, so it gives us a little bit of room to play with when we want to put this chamfer on the end here, and we've got plenty of clearance from the chuck, and then that also leaves us plenty of meat left on the bone to slim down the head and get that right. So that's where we'll start from. So I'm just going to let the I'm just going to put it in low gear and let the lathe turn over for a little while, because it is quite cold in here. I have put the heating on, but we've dropped back down to about 4 degrees here in southern England, certainly in the part that I live in. So a little bit chilly here in the workshop, but that ought to do it. Just get the bearings lubricated, and this is a bit of EN1, EN1A actually. I've never used it before. It's pretty much all I could get in the 9/16 X size, and I actually had to look it up on our database, on our materials database, because it's not something we use, and I didn't know anything about it. And it's a fairly generic low carbon steel. I think it's used quite a lot by model engineers and people like that, because it's quite free cutting, so not particularly high spec steel, but good enough for what we need to do. Tensile, it's high 7s, low 800s, which quite surprised me actually. So yeah, more than adequate I think for what we want it to do, and more importantly, it was available, so that's what we're using. There you go. Now we're going to have an interrupted cut. But this tip's getting a bit long in the tooth anyway, so I'm sure it'll be fine. They're quite good tips, these. I thought to be a bit greedier than that, I think. That's what I like it. but you get the idea about what we're doing, so I'll bring you back when we get a bit nearer to the numbers. Right, we've got it round now, we've got the hex off of it, so we can start taking some decent cuts. I'm just trying to get you in a position where I can still get to measure it. We're going for a major of 438 thou, which is 11.1 there or thereabouts. So I don't know if you can see that. We need another 2.34, 2.33. Yeah, so a couple of cuts and we should be there. So take another millimetre cut and I'll let you watch that. It does cut quite nicely actually. Yeah, that's quite nice. Double check that. Quite a nice finish actually. Yeah, 1.32, 1.33, so. Right, I'll get it down to size and I'll bring you back. Right, I've taken the final cut and I've given it a couple of minutes just to make sure it's cool, which it is. And there's our target, 11:11, Armistice Day. So if we get to 0, we're laughing, aren't we? We'll see. Let's see how we did. 001, 001, 0. What's going on there? It's getting bigger. How's that happening? I guess it's just the way I'm holding the caliper. Right, I'm going to mic it up with an imperial mic and we'll see how we did in real terms for our thread major, which is, what did I say it was? 438. So let's have a look. Make sure we're zeroed on our micrometer. Which we are, on the nosy, and then let's have a look. There we go. I'll make that 437. We wanted 438, but I think we're happy with that. I don't think we're going to have any problems with 437. So that's our first major diameter turned. We need to flip this thing around now. Well, I'll probably need to put the lead on to start with. We'll do that. Then we'll flip it around, slim the head down, and then through drill and tap for our grease fitting. And that'll be our first blank done. Obviously we'll soften all the edges just to make it nice. But yeah, we're moving on, making progress. Right, I've just machined the major diameter on the second blank, and this is just a little quick clip just to show you that there we go. As I say, manual machining. Look, I did a bit better on this one. 438. So we've got one at 437, one at 438, and we were aiming for 438. So happy days. The lathe proves itself once again to be an accurate machine, and yeah, the operator is the most inaccurate component in the works, but I think we can forgive ourselves that ever so slight underread on the first one. Okay, that's the tapping drill and the grease hole, the grease orifice, all the way through this blank. So we've gone through at 4mm, which is a tapping drill for 2BA, and the next thing we'll do is tap it for the grease fitting, and then that's this blank ready for thread cutting. And I've already slimmed the head down. I've gone a little bit deeper. They're a little bit deeper than the originals. I think the originals are about 6mm, and I've done these at 8 because I think it just looks quite nice. So you know, they'll be differentiated from original components, but I don't think it will look out of place. In fact, I think it looks quite nice. So right, let me get set up for tapping, and we will put some threads in. Right, so we're on our plug tap. I've already done the taper in the second cut, and we'll just let that do its magic. A little bit of RTD tapping compound on there. And then we'll just reverse it out. I'm just guiding the tailstock with light hand pressure. These aren't machine taps, so you've got to be a bit careful. Not really designed for power tapping, but we should be all right. Right, just deburr that, and then we'll try the grease fitting. Make sure that it's all good to thread in. Let me just grab something to deburr that with. Okay, I've deburred it and given it a little clean. There we go. Nice shiny new grease fitting. So I just need to get the other blank up to the same stage, i.e. thin down the head of the nut, put some nice little chamfers on, through drill to 4mm, and tap for our new grease fitting. And then once that's done, we'll be ready to put some threads on. So I'll get that out of the way off the camera, and when we come back, it will be threading time. Okay, so we're set back up for threading again, and I put the mysterious universal quadrant back on the machine with the right gearing for 20 TPI. We know it cuts 20 TPI because we've already done the test thread, so that's all been done. I put the 3-jaw back on, reason being I want a really good grip of the bolt head when I'm threading, because just like how your lead screw works, it generates a thrust and the possibility of pulling it out of a collet if we're just held by the hex head. You know, it might not, but better to be safe than sorry. So 3-jaw chuck back on, good firm grip. With hindsight, I probably should have left slimming down the heads until the end, but I think there's enough in there to get a good firm grip. I don't think it's going anywhere, but if I did the job again, I'd probably leave that till the end and just have that extra material. Threading tool wise, we've got a 16 ER 60-degree cemented carbide tip in a ASR 16 Kennametal tool, and we're not using a set over compound. Normally, you know, with single point threading, you would set the compound to half the thread angle. You don't necessarily have to do that with tipped tooling, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put the cut on with the cross slide. It worked well on the test thread, so there's no reason why it shouldn't work well here. So that's it. Let's talk more action. I'll do a scratch pass. I always do a scratch pass anyway, just to make sure that I haven't introduced a variable in the setup of the machine that I've overlooked, but we should be good for 16 TPI. As with any imperial thread on this lathe, once the clasp nut is closed, there'll be no opening it, so we'll just be winding in and out and reversing the lathe to get back to the beginning of the cut. You can't open the clasp nut once it's closed. So let's have a little bit of a scratch pass and see where we are. So just gonna introduce the tool, absolutely squeak it. That should do. Off we go. Now you notice that the lathe runs on a little bit when I hit the stop button, and that's just obviously just a feature of the machine. It doesn't have a brake, so it just winds itself down. So I did a bit of a Evel Knievel test run without the tool engaged, just to make sure I knew where to hit the test button, so that the stop button, so that the lathe would stop in my little relieved portion here. I call it an Evel Knievel because he always used to go past the ramps, didn't he, on his bike? He'd race past the ramps to make sure his speed was right before he actually went over the ramps. So there you go. That's what I mean when I say an Evel Knievel. So let me grab the threading gauge, and I just need to move you back a little bit so I can get in, but I think you'll still be able to see. I'll take my glasses off for this one because I can't see. Yep, 20 TPI, so we're good to go. We're good to go. So I'm going to wind the tool out 2 full turns to make sure that I get all the backlash out. Reverse the carriage, back in 2 full turns, a little bit of cut on, take a cut, and then it's just going to be rinse and repeat until we've got a thread formed. So I will go through that with you on this occasion, and then I'll do most of the work off the camera and then bring you back for the glory shot. So let's do this methodically, otherwise I'll forget. There's 1 turn, there is 2 turns, and now we can reverse up. It's one turn back in, two turns back in, a little bit of cut, and then turn the chapter ring all the way around in the same direction, back to 0. We're now ready to take the cut. I'm going to make a little tally on my notebook so that I don't forget how many cuts I've taken, and we'll put a little bit of super cut on just to lubricate the cutting tool, and yeah, ready to take our first cut. Here we go. So there we go. Like I said, rinse and repeat several times, and I'll bring you back when we're looking something like a thread. Right, I've brought you back in because it's starting to look like a thread now. So I'm just going to get the, is it focused? Oh, I don't know what's happening there. Let's move you in a bit. There we go. I don't know what was happening with the camera, but it was kind of pulsing. Anyway, hopefully that's not spoiled your enjoyment. So yeah, we're looking like a thread, and I just wanted to check, see where we are. And that's just starting to go on. So take another cut. We'll come back, have another look. Right, my friends. It's just going on now. So it's just sort of going on, starting to thread up, but going a little bit tight. So we are almost there. I think I'm probably going to take possibly another cut at the same setting just to see if that just cleans it up. I think that's what we'll do. Well, I promised you a glory shot, and here it is. There we go, a nice fit, like a sock on a chicken's lip. I'm very happy with that. So I'll do the other one off camera, because you've seen one. I don't want to bore you with seeing the same thing again. And then we'll come back and get the parts cleaned up and ready for fitment on the bike. I could have done this with a tailstock die holder, or a die stock, you know, handheld die stock. However, a couple of my viewers expressed an interest in seeing it done on the lathe, so we've done it on the lathe. What is it they say in show business? Give the audience what they want and leave them wanting more. And hopefully that's what we've done. It's quite enjoyable, actually. It is quite a long-winded way of doing it, but when you produce a thread on the lathe, it's quite satisfying. So that's that done. I shall see you in a moment when we're getting ready to fit them back to the bike. Well, here we are looking at the finished articles, and I've given them a good clean, and so washed them out with the parts washer, and then blew some compressed air through. And then we fitted the 2 BA grease fittings, BA being British Association. For those of you who might not be familiar with the various British engineering threads, often used in instrumentation, but quite likely to be found wherever smaller threads are required. So there we go. I think we're just about back to square one. At least we will be once we get the pin refitted, which I'll do off camera. You've seen me do that once. So we'll get this back in and make some progress. Right, I think we'll leave it there. This has been a thoroughly satisfying job. I've enjoyed doing it. I hope that you've enjoyed watching. Quite a number of processes to make this fairly simple part, but I think we've ended up with a satisfactory pair of pivot bolts. So that's one more job ticked off the list, and we can carry on with our rear end rebuild. I think the next D7 video will be refitting the rear wheel. We'll have a look at the rear suspension units. I'm not quite sure the way forward at the moment with those. Maybe we'll rebush what we have, or perhaps I'll get hold of an aftermarket pair of units and we'll fit those. But whatever we do, it will be one step closer to Bantam Nirvana. I do have another project planned. We're going to get the D10 engine back on the bench and have another look at that. I have a very specific task that I'd like to do, just as a bit of a break really, a bit of variety really in the workshop. So stay tuned for that. That will be within the next few weeks, and yeah, I'm looking forward to having another look at that D10 engine. Thanks very much indeed for watching. It is hugely appreciated. Thanks to all my subscribers, those of you who've been with me for a while, thanks for sticking with me. Those of you who've come along recently, you're very welcome, and I hope that you're enjoying what we're doing. Please hit the like button. Apparently that gets us shared out to a wider audience. I'm not entirely sure, but it certainly can't hurt. And if you're not subscribed, please do consider subscribing and help me to grow the channel. It just gives me all the more reason really to come in here and make more videos, and it's always very satisfying when you think that there's going to be somebody watching. So yeah, please consider that. Feel free to leave a comment if you've got questions, or you'd like to comment on something to do with the video, or just in general really. Please leave a comment and I'll answer you. I do enjoy reading your comments. That's about it. Take care of yourselves, mind how you go, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.